Hello everyone. Welcome you to another learning workshop. This one is titled Your Best Possible Work Self. Now, this one, friends, I already have one version of it uploaded, but this one I created with an intent by dividing these steps that you will find in this technique to make it way more easier and practical. So this tool, for all of those who are watching this for the first time, your best possible work self is for those who really are looking for clarity and direction to understand what is it that can help them move ahead when you do not really know how and where. So if you are somebody who have spent a considerable amount of time in your present role and job, but you're confused as to where you need to go next, you have various offers, or you're someone who's not quite engaged with their work right now at whatever work that you are in, and you find yourself that you've reached a point where your disengagement is a lot more, creating confusion into your head about what is it that you seek in terms of your work. So this technique actually can be done for various other spheres and aspects of life. But for now and for this particular workshop, we will be focused only on work. So let's get started and let's do the work. The step one of this will be where you would identify your best possible work self. Now, what you need to do here, friends, is pause this video. You have the instructions on the screen before you. Grab a pen and a paper and listen to my voice. You could read this and do it, or you could follow my instructions. So for that, you need to unpause the video. Uh, you can kind of go both ways, which is absolutely fine. And as I mentioned earlier, I bring this technique to you through the story of Janice. So what we will be doing here is, while you are identifying your best possible work self, we will have Janice do the same, and we'll see to it how she, you, and I together identify our best possible work self. So let's get started. And I'm sure by now you have a pen and a paper where you could set a timer for or a stopwatch for 10 minutes. And you have to do a bit of imagination here. So you can, for this, you can close your eyes, take three deep breaths. The reason I emphasize on three deep breaths is this will activate your internal calm system and will get you into a deep relaxed mode. So as you get into that mode, it becomes way more easier to tap into your inner wisdom. And then we can, from our own inner wisdom, run our imagination so that you get to a place where you always wanted to be in regards to your work. So follow my instructions, close your eyes, and take three deep breaths. After this, imagine about the best possible work self you always wanted to be in. A job that you love, something that inspires and supports you, where you feel energized and engaged. You are kind of very successful in the work that you're doing, a work that is filled with meaning and brings you a lot of fulfillment. So when you are imagining yourself in this ideal workplace, let your imagination bring to you what kind of workplace is this. And as the imagination unfolds, open your eyes and write down all that your inner visualization has shared with you. Focus on your thoughts and your emotions and do not worry about how it is shaping up. So now in case of Janice, let's see when I gave her this particular step of visualizing her best possible work self, what came up for her? This is an example of Janice and her work while she listened to my instructions the way you did and came up with this. She wanted to be a global leader in a team that was global with a huge span of control in a reputed organization offering her international experience and inclusivity. So it may vary. What she came up with may not be what you would come up with. It would vary with each one of us. This one is just to help you understand how some of our internal imagination would work. So this one was for Janice. I'm sure by now you may also have had a bit of details around what's your best possible work self. Now let's get on to the step 2 of this. Once you have this imagination and all the visualization written down on a piece of paper or a notepad, we would now evoke our best possible self. And we would do this through a set of questions. Now, friends, these set of questions that you are seeing on your screen are very, they are very designed to give you, rather take you to those depth and delve deeper into the specifics of your best possible work self. So you would be adding, like the very first step gave you a general idea. Now what we're doing here is we're getting to the specifics of it. So pause this video here and answer these questions where you are imagining yourself in your ideal workplace, a place that you always wanted to be in, where you answer these set of questions of what you're doing, where are you working. This can be specific to the location or to the type of firm you want to be, like a startup or a MNC or in some location across the globe. The atmosphere, who are you working with? Do you like to be an individual contributor, or you like working with people, teams, an open space, a remote work setup, whichever way it works for you? Then what are your relationships like? So this one is a question that's helping you understand what really you value in your colleagues or the place you work. And what do you find fulfilling about your work? This is basically, this question will help you get to the specific of what really brings you that element of fulfillment about your work. So when you sit down and visualize this and answer these questions, the insights, the answers, the data that's coming out will answer a lot of questions about your possible work self of the future. One final question here is, what is the thing that is most different from your current job? So now this question is interesting, friends, because this will also let you know what is something that you do not really enjoy or engage with. And this can again be a kind of guidance for what is it that you're seeking. So let's see what came up for Janice when I gave her this set of questions. Now, what you are seeing on your screen is not a complete narrative that she shared with me, but I've just tried to summarize it in one statement for you to take this as an example while you do the work on these questions for your own possible work self. In her case, she envisioned herself in a leadership role. She always wanted to lead huge teams. She wanted to work in a multinational corporation, and her relationships that she looked forward to were more cordial, friendly, and helpful. And what really was these last two questions fulfilling about the work? The answers she gave was the inclusivity factor and the team support. So for her, perhaps fulfillment in work was when she worked with a supportive and collaborative team. And what is the thing that what was different from her current job was the culture. So perhaps in the case of Janice, the present job that she was in, she was not very much happy or satisfied with the culture that she was part of, and her future job self, where she envisioned herself, was she was looking for something of a collaborative and trustworthy culture. So these two questions are quite important, friends. Whatever answer comes up for you, remember it is giving you a direction about what really makes you or help you be more engaged at work, or is an element of fulfillment for you. It will vary from person to person. So in case of Janice, it's inclusivity, team support. In case of you, it could be something else, but make sure you spend enough time answering these questions so that you get to this part from your inner wisdom. Moving to the next step, which is step 3. Once we have the idea of the future's possible work self along with the specifics, now it is time for us, with a lot of data I guess we have in hand, what can we do to really move towards the self, and what are some realistic actions we could take. So in case of Janice, of all that she had, this is what she came up with when I asked her to, what actionable steps, like practical steps that she could do if she really wanted to move towards that ideal possible work cell where she's working as a global leader, managing a huge team, and she wanted to work for a MNC. Also, that she wanted to be part of a team that's more collaborative and inclusive. So these were some of the things that she came up with. But the most interesting part came when I asked her to answer this second question, which was, what are some of the realistic actions she could take to achieve these? Now, this second question, this realistic action, basically is helping Janice understand that we may have a long list, but what's the possibility of the steps that you have come up with to put them into action? And what it is telling her is that we need to come up with realistic goals, not something that we wish for or aspire, but something that we can possibly do in action. Second, realistic meaning not something very vague, rather be specific. So while we are visualizing a possible work self, and we are also visualizing the kind of people, place, and work we would do, we also need to have a realistic element to that. And this is where this question becomes key in helping us drill down to realistic, specific goals that can really push us to the real possible work self we want to attain. So in the case of, if we go with Janice's example and all that she came up with, more or less all the 8 are doable. But if you pay attention to the fourth point, exploring IJPs, which was internal job posting. So since Janice was not very satisfied with the culture of her present organization, this was not something relevant, I should say, more than realistic to what she could do. However, if she would to go to a global leadership position, she can explore the external market instead of the internal job postings. An external market that's offering global leadership roles for emerging women like Janice, and can look for then the competencies that are required there, and the leadership training or technical training from some reputed institutes that she needs to undertake to qualify herself performing at the next role, so that she could apply and become the most eligible candidate for that particular role. Similarly, adapting the same approach, friends, taking Janice as an example, list down all that you could do to move towards this possible self, and remember, keep it realistic. What realistic actions you could take so that you move towards this future self of yours. Finally, step 4, is to reflect. So when I asked Janice about how was it to complete these 4 steps, with that additional 2 questions about the aspects of the best possible work self, which were the most important to her, and if she could travel to the future and ask her best possible work self one question, what would that be? Now, this final step here is basically helping you or Janice, whoever is doing this, to first of all take stock of all the data you have with you, with the questions that you're doing, the imaginations, the visualizations, and through self and deep self reflection, you are getting clarity and direction for your future work self. At the same time, it's helping you identify what is the most important aspect of your best possible work self. Because this guidance will actually take you on to a path which some perhaps most of you may want to do it for the longest period of time. Like you may not really want to come back to this technique every 1 year or every 4 years. Rather, have answers or a long-term 5 year or a 10-year plan. So this question really gives you that direction. May not be a absolute answer, but a direction to it. So let's see what came up for Janice with this first and the second question in here. For Janice, it was the leadership role and working with the teams. So for her, people management, span of control was something that kind of came up for her and were very important for her. So this, in a way, also gave her an insight into the work values, things that are important for her. She could be very different from people who prefer being an individual contributors or prefer working with tools, equipments, or data, not with people. Since Janice is a people's person, this came up for her. So this is very, very important. Pay attention to what comes in for you and what comes up for you when you answer this question. And finally, the final question, if you could travel to the future and ask your best possible work self one question, what would this question be? For Janice, it was, how did you become the competent leader you are today? And this is like keeping the end in mind and then working backwards in the reverse order. So pay attention to this question, because this question, which we are actually traveling in time to the future, however, has an answer to what you could start doing today to reach that future possible work self that you always wanted for yourself. So taking examples from Janice, reflect and come up with your answers. If you would like to share that with me, I'll share my coordinates so that I could assist you further in taking it to another level where we can chart out a plan with more clarity and direction for your career transformation. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching this. I hope this simple 4-step technique would take you one step closer to knowing your best possible work self. Stay connected and do reach out or ask questions if in case you find yourself ever into a position where you're confused about where you want to move ahead and how to do so. Thanks.